Hello, welcome. We're glad to have you here today. We're going to give it just a minute here. We have people clicked in and logged on, but we are excited to talk to you today. We see you, Deb and Lee and Judy and Steve. Thank you for joining us today. We will give us just a minute here and we're going to get started. We're going to teach you all that you need to know about downsizing and simplifying your life today. This is going to be good stuff. So if you don't have a pad of paper, it's a good time to grab one because we're going to give you a lot of things you'll want to take notes on. So have that handy.
And we will summarize at the end. So if you find that you're too busy listening to take those notes, rest assured we will have a summary for you at the very end.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to tell you this a few times throughout the presentation, but if you want to see us side by side with the presentation that we're going to share, there are 3 dots at the bottom of your screen. You can click on that, then change layout and tile view. And that's going to give you a side by side with us and the presentation. We don't have the presentation up yet, so if you click on that, it might just be blank, but that's a good way to see us.
Welcome, Nancy.
Yeah, hi there, Nancy and NJ.
Jackie.
All right.
Maybe one more minute.
Yeah, we'll give it one more minute. Apologies to anyone who had trouble finding their registration email. We think some of it maybe went to spam. So if you are here and joined us, then you figured that out. Good stuff. Got a few more people clicking on.
That's right. Okay, you think
let's get started. We have a full hour today, so we want to get going on our content so we don't run out of time. And we'll start by just telling you a bit about us.
Wonderful. We are New Thresholds. I am Katherine, and this is Ellen. I feel like we need to get those Laverne and Shirley like monograms. I'll get a K, she'll get an E.
Oh yeah.
Ellen and I founded this company about 6 years ago, and prior to working on this business that we love so much, Ellen and I both have a really deep background in executive leadership. And unbeknownst to us at the time, all of those skills in logistics and project management and sourcing and design and problem solving all have led us to where we are today. And we run a multi-city move management business. We specialize in small space design and in downsizing. And we are so honored to work with amazing clients, many of whom, similar to maybe where your mind is, are considering or going through a major life change. And so there is a lot of work that we do that is physical, but there's a whole lot more work that we do that is almost mind work, mindset work, thinking about how do we imagine the next stage of our lives. So when we are not working, we both happen to have 2 kids. We reside in Texas, and New Thresholds has offices in Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, and Houston, Texas, which is where we are coming to you from today. We also have reach across the US and a bit recently in Canada. So we can be great resources for you, regardless of where you live in North America.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, while I get our presentation up, I think, Ellen, if you could go through that.
Yeah, I'm going to remind you again. So if you just joined us, click at the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen and then click change layout. And if you select tile view, that should show you side by side, show you us side by side with what we're about to show you here in our slides. So give us just a second to get this going. There we go. Okay, so tile view should get you to that side by side. Otherwise, you're going to get a little picture of us up in the corner, which is fine too. Totally up to you.
So today, as you well know, because you signed up to spend just under an hour with us, we are going through and sharing with you our proven downsizing strategy. It will culminate in 6 simple steps. So we want to get started with that and first reassure you that we have helped over 1,000 households downsize, and we can help you too. We have personally been project managing and executing those projects, but what we have done for our clients, we will go through that process for you and empower you to do for yourself or a loved one. Many of you wrote into us when you signed up for this webinar and told us you were interested in working on this for yourself. Some of you are interested in helping a friend or a loved one. All of these steps apply, and we'll talk about how to approach that primarily for yourself, but just know that obviously you can do this for others as we have. So as I mentioned before, our backgrounds and our skill sets, our hard skills, so to speak, are really focused on the fields of design and project management, sourcing, logistics, but it's really important in downsizing and transitions to have a can-do attitude. And so we're grateful for the lives that we live and the clients that we impact. We also really like to see this work as optimistic and less about what we might be leaving behind and a whole lot more about what we are gaining when we decide to downsize, when we decide to transition. So we'll tell you a little bit more about that. So our focus for today.
So here's what we're going to teach you today. We're going to share our proven downsizing approach. It's 6 easy steps. It's going to apply to you no matter what stage you're in. And please have a pad and pen handy if you want to take notes. We're going to give you some prompts on the screen. We're going to give you actionable how-tos. So if you're ready to get started after today, you're going to have some things you can go out and tackle right away. And then we're going to answer the questions that you submitted to us at the end. They were fantastic, and we have some really good answers for you.
Awesome.
Okay, so we want to just level set. You are not alone in what you're feeling right now with the idea of downsizing. You're probably feeling extremely overwhelmed, probably emotional, uncertain. And we just want to remind you that change is hard, and that's okay. We're going to help you through this. We have a lot of clients who go in thinking that this is just an insurmountable thing and they're not sure how to handle it. And we attack this with optimism, one step at a time. And they're so happy in their new home. They feel settled and they feel good throughout the process. So we're going to show you how to do that.
And it will be okay. Whatever you decide, however you decide to proceed. In terms of the concept of downsizing, a lot of people get very nervous about the concept of living in fewer square feet than they're used to living in. You know, people nowadays live in 3, 4, sometimes 5,000 square feet. And the concept of downsizing for whatever reason, for mobility reasons, because you maybe want a new property, you want less to take care of. A lot of us only live in about 850 square feet. If you think about your primary bedroom, your kitchen, maybe your living room or den, there's not a whole lot of an average house that we actually live in minute to minute, day to day. So when people downsize, they're getting the best of the best. They're getting the space that they need, not necessarily more than they need. You know, some of you, when you wrote into us, said, "Oh, I just need to know how to get started." You're exactly right. Once you start, it will get easier.
It's fun. It can be fun.
It can be fun. It can be fun. And sometimes it's like we're rolling a rock downhill. Like that might be a heavy rock, but you give it a push and it starts to build momentum as it goes. And you know, the cliche is true. Less is truly more. It's less to take care of. It's less to think about. Gives you more time and more mind space, honestly, to focus on the elements of your life that you enjoy and less about taking care of the stuff or handling the, you know, 60-year-old property. And we always, always, always want to encourage people to take a glass half full approach to this. It's so much less about what you are losing and a whole heck of a lot more about what you are gaining and what you choose to bring forward into the next phase of your life, whether that's the attitude you choose to bring forward, whether those are a few chosen important items you choose to take forward. The choice is literally yours. So we recommend choosing a glass half full attitude.
Okay, so the goal today, the end result of today, if you listen to us, follow along, and then do what we say, you will be able to create a beautiful home that you will thrive in. And that's the goal. That's what we want you to focus on. We'll have upcoming webinars that are going to dig deeper into each of these different topics. So definitely stay tuned for those types of things. Today, we're giving you an overall broad approach, but the end goal is to create this beautiful home that you will thrive in.
Wonderful. All right. So as promised, the proven downsizing approach in 6 simple steps. And guess what? My favorite step is the first step that Ellen is going to tell you about, because you don't have to lift a finger.
You don't. But I'm going to ask you to close your eyes here. So if you're driving,
don't do that.
Don't do that. But we'll get to that in a second. So the first step is to shift your mindset. And if you're already in a great, super positive place, then stay there. But chances are you're not. Chances are you joined us today because you're feeling all the feelings that we talked about at the beginning: overwhelmed, uncertain, scared, confused, all that stuff. So I want to remind you that there are 2 ways to look at life. You can look at life as if it is happening for you, where you are starting a new chapter, you're going to meet new people, you get to leave behind the things you don't want and focus on the things you do want. You get to have a lighter experience in your new home. You get to maybe choose some new colors, refresh, all the good stuff. Or you can look at it as, oh man, I've got to get rid of things. I've got to say goodbye to things. This is going to change. That's going to change. It won't be as good as it is now. And that choice is up to you. And every day that you think about downsizing, you get to make that choice. And so I want to remind you that you should start your day saying, today is a day of good things. Today is a day where I am gaining in my life. And even though I'm letting go of some stuff, that is a good thing. So you're approaching that with optimism. We also want to be forward looking, right? You can look back at all your memories and still have those, but we want you to focus on the good things to come. Think of this as like a next chapter, not a goodbye, but a happy time in your life. And we want you to be able to imagine your future self in this happy place. So we're going to do a quick little exercise together. I want you to, if you're somewhere safe, hopefully you're not driving, take a minute, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Do one more breath in and a deep breath out. And I want you to picture yourself in your favorite chair in your house. It could be a recliner, could be one end of the sofa, it could be a chair in the kitchen, a place where you sit, where you feel settled and where you feel calm and peaceful. So picture that in your house and go there in your mind. Maybe you're there right now, great, but feel the sort of support of this chair. Feel the comfort, feel at home there, and you're safe. Okay, keep your eyes closed. And now I want you to look up and you're going to visualize in your mind. You're still in that chair, but that chair's in a different place now. It's in a new home. And you look around this new home and you see your familiar art on the walls. There's some warm sunshine coming through the window. You've got maybe your favorite beverage in front of you, and you're still feeling safe and comfortable and supported in this space. You get to choose how you feel. And today you are choosing to feel good. Okay, take one more deep breath in, one more deep breath out, and open your eyes. Remember, a quick way to calm your nervous system like that is just to think good things. Think optimistically about your new space and visualize yourself happy there. You can do that type of exercise anytime you need just a minute to think about the good stuff.
And that was really quick. So thank you. And I feel a little bit relaxed.
I do too, actually. Thank you.
Yes. So step 2 is all about finding help and support. So I want to go through the different categories that exist out there that you can choose from in terms of finding that alignment, finding that help to take the steps that you need to take or that you want to take. The first is hiring a full service move manager. Most people are unaware that people like us exist.
Yeah.
We are move managers. There's a whole industry organization of move managers out there. And, we're all different people, but our mission is similar, which is to help families and individuals through a transitionary time of their life. And we handle everything. So for new thresholds, we start by creating a beautiful design and scaled floor plan of new space. Now, we're going to go into detail here in just a minute, so I'll leave that for a few steps from now, actually next step. But a full service move manager will do everything from creating the design to walking with you as you make decisions. They will hire movers on your behalf, and you won't have to really mess with the movers themselves. And they will handle the entire project, everything from packing to moving the items to unpacking, organizing a new home, art on the walls, and even cleaning out your prior home when you are ready to potentially move it onto the market or to the next occupant. So there is a full service option out there. That is the business that we are in every single day. So obviously that's what we recommend. But I really do want to tell you that if you're able to, hiring this level of full service support is worth its weight in gold. There are so many other things on people's minds when they are working through downsizing. And so the logistics, like some of you aren't going to wake up tomorrow and be logistical mavens. Some of you already are. But if that's not your area of forte, consider hiring a full service move manager.
Well, and you might have something else going on in your life simultaneously.
As we
It's
often do.
not uncommon that you may need to downsize because you have a spouse in the hospital or someone's dealing with, some medical issues, or your house suddenly is no longer a fit because, of mobility changes. So there's a lot of other stuff going on, and we want to recognize that it can really feel overwhelming fast. And this is a good way to feel that support.
That's great. Yes. So hiring a full service move manager as your partner and logistical manager is one option. The other side of the spectrum is actually DIY, do it yourself. We would call this do it yourself plus a mover, because I don't know about you all, but I did not wake up this morning feeling like I could move a 200-pound armor.
Yes.
And I don't own a giant moving truck.
So it's not the time to use your grandson's pickup truck.
Agree. Yeah, agree. So there is DIY plus hiring a very qualified, well-vetted mover. This is something we're going to touch on, the selecting a mover, later in this conversation. We'll probably also have a deep dive dedicated webinar on this, because it takes some doing to find the right partner.
Yeah.
And then the third option here is a hybrid of the two, which is kind of like if you were building a house from the ground up and you were your own general contractor, right? So, you can run the role or play the role of project manager and then outsource portions of the project. Maybe you want to pull a design expert in to design the new space or create a scaled floor plan. Obviously, we've just talked about bringing an expert mover in to move the heavy things. But if you want to general contract or project lead this on your own, but pulling in those experts, that is certainly an option. It's time consuming, and you want to be well connected in terms of who those experts are that you bring in to help you. But that is the third approach, really, is the hybrid. So we just want to reassure you, though, that there is help out there, and we strongly encourage you to use it. Really, no one should go this alone. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to do. And very few of us have done it many times, right? Typically, if you're downsizing, you might have only done it once or twice, or not at all.
Not at all. Yeah.
I do want to touch on a topic, though, and Ellen mentioned this: the role of an adult child or a really well-meaning best friend. We would encourage you to partner with people like an adult child or a well-meaning best friend, but not as your logistical manager.
Yeah.
Really as your emotional support partner, right? People like this in our lives are so well-meaning, but oftentimes they're too busy. I mean, if we talk about the example of adult child, they might have kids of their own that they're raising. They are probably working. They're maybe on a couple of boards. Like, they're busy people. And so what the attention and the time that it takes to work through a project like this can be pretty intense. And it's oftentimes not something that an adult child can accommodate very well, despite the fact that they want to. They always want the best for their parents. So we're suggesting hire professionals and then lock arms with your support system, your emotional support system, your friends and your family, and have them walk with you through this as a collaborative partner, but not as your project manager.
We incorporate adult children in our projects all the time. Sometimes they want to play a small role and we give them something to do. And sometimes they just, most of the time, they understand the role of just supporting their parent. It doesn't mean they're not involved. It just means they're not unpacking boxes for you on the weekend.
Yeah, very well said.
Okay, this is my next favorite step, is designing your new space. And this is really good stuff. So we want to start, it's best if you identify your destination. If you know where you're going, it obviously makes sense that you can design that space better. You may be moving to a senior community. It's great to know the exact unit you're moving into, what that floor plan looks like. Maybe you're moving in with an adult child. Then identify what your given space is going to be. Maybe it's a bedroom, maybe it's a mother-in-law suite. Like, understand what that looks like. Or maybe you're staying in your home and you want to, what we call age in place, but maybe you need to move a primary bedroom down to the first floor. Understand what those shifts look like so that you really understand what you're designing. From there, we encourage you to build a 2-scale floor plan. That doesn't mean that you've sketched out the space and you're dropping in a bed and a chair where you think it goes. This means finding either an app online. There's a bunch of good options for free, or using graph paper if that's, graph paper if that's your style, but really truly doing it to scale. Because when you do that, you're going to find you can fit a lot more in than you think. Often we meet with a client and they say, well, I guess I can bring my bed and my recliner and this small table in a small apartment. And we go in and we design it and they can bring 5 times that much. Mm-hmm. So really building a 2-scale floor plan is going to help you understand all of the good stuff you're going to be able to fit into this new space. And then finally, don't just think of a piece of furniture or a lamp. We want you to think of vignettes. A vignette is like a collection of items. And so, for example, you might say, well, I want to bring this recliner. Great, but also bring all that surrounds that recliner. It might be the end table and the lamp and the art above it. You might bring a familiar wall color with you. We love this, and people overthink this or don't think about this often enough. You are surrounded by colors in your home right now that sort of calm you and keep you feeling familiar. It's okay to bring those to a new place. Pretty much any new space is going to allow you to put a coat of paint on the walls, and we really encourage you to do that. It's a good way to create a familiar space quickly. Yeah. Here's an example of a floor plan that we've done. This is 800 square feet. I'm going to show you in a second pictures of what it actually looks like. So you walk in at the top there, you come in through the living room, there's a bistro table, a couch, there's a fireplace, an electric fireplace that we built for this client, multiple chairs for seating. If you go to what is the right, the office sitting area, there is a full-size sleeper sofa in there, plus a lounge chair, plus the biggest desk I've ever seen. It's definitely a behemoth of a desk, and some bookshelves, additional chairs. And then if you go over to the bedroom, there's a 4-poster queen bed, a huge dresser. We were able to fit all that in, but we knew in advance exactly what was going to go where because we built that 2-scale floor plan.
And again, we could talk for hours just about this, but this is my favorite part is that's how the floor plan looked in real life.
And so here's what it translates to. The 4-poster bed I mentioned, this is the living room from the viewpoint of this electric fireplace. There's a huge chandelier hanging in there that really is like the pièce de résistance. It was her favorite piece, and we made sure that it came because it really set the tone. And then there's her desk, and we sort of tilted, or we have that perpendicular to the wall with the bookcase. So it created just this like little office space for her. All very important. You can't really tell here, but we brought her familiar wall color. So overall, we put some thought into the space in advance. And then we were able to bring these vignettes from her home. In some cases, we scaled down a little bit, but overall, that's what it looks like.
All right, step 4. This is about selecting what comes with you. And notice I did not say decide what you have to get rid of. There's two sides of this coin, right? This is the optimistic, forward-looking version of it, and it means everything. It is such an empowering shift to make in terms of making mindful choices of what comes with you versus standing in the middle of your house and saying, oh my gosh, what do I have to get rid of?
And let's actually pause for a second and address what I probably should have told you at the beginning. We strongly believe the best way to downsize is in conjunction with a move. If you're in your home and you want to sort of lighten the amount of things you have or get rid of things, that's okay. And there's a ton of value in that too. But if you truly are downsizing or planning to downsize, it should be in conjunction with a move. Katherine's going to tell you, you're going to pick what you take and then you're going to leave the rest behind. And that is a very empowering part of the process. So keep that in mind.
So here's what that looks like, selecting what comes. In brief, starting with basic needs, right? So the way that we like to approach this is starting with a space in the home. It's oftentimes easiest to start in a space that has the least, I would say, complexity and the least emotional attachment. Say, for example, a guest bedroom or an unused space in your home. And the types of questions that we ask ourselves are simply 3. And we ask our clients, obviously. Number 1, what do you need? Do you need the bed or the couch or insert furniture item from this space? What do you want? You want the settee that goes in the primary bedroom? Understood. And then last, but certainly not least, what will fit? And that's what Ellen just talked through. But, I've used furniture as an example, but if you think about it, there's all sorts of other things beyond furniture that we get to make decisions on. It's what from the kitchen space comes with us. If you are used to, cooking for a crowd and you happen to own 3 crock pots, and this completely does happen, you may decide, you know what, I haven't used those 3 crock pots in 20 years, but I'd like to keep maybe one so that I can feed my family or my neighbors on big game day weekends, right? Or for New Year's Day. So you want one of the crock pots. But we sort through the home space by space, room by room, asking these questions of ourselves. And there's tools that we use, and I'm going to show them to you. These are very simple colored dots. They are removable. By the way, Avery sells ones that are removable, and they sell them that aren't removable. Let me just tell you, based on experience, removable is very critical. Also, P.S., do not get them wet. But these are wonderful because it's just like a stoplight, right? So green means go. Let's go with us to the next space. Red means stop. We have chosen not to take this with us to the next layout. And yellow and blue actually could have roles depending, but we'll just focus on red and green for the purpose of this conversation. So these are the dots that can go on items, and I'll talk through how that looks in a minute. In addition, we love ourselves some sticky notes. These happen to be the super sticky version from 3M. They're a little bit obviously stickier than the regular stuff, but again, stoplight. Green means go, and red means it will not go. So the sorting process, as I mentioned, can be one of the most daunting for people. And here's what we'll tell you is that with the help of a professional like New Thresholds or people who are move managers similar to us, you literally can sort through an entire home and make all the decisions in 12 to 15 hours total. This does not need to be a 6-month endeavor. This doesn't need to be get rid of a box a weekend. We strongly encourage you to, if you have a Band-Aid on, right? Like if you're gonna pull a Band-Aid off, and I've got like some arm hair, right? You don't want to pull it off like bit.
Over 6 months.
Over the course of 6 months, or God forbid longer.
Yeah.
The reality is this can happen in a relatively short amount of time. It condenses that transitionary period. You don't feel like you're in a constant state of decision making or flux. It's so much easier on the mind than just your mental attitude about things. So again, we can accomplish sorting through a home where our clients make every single decision in 12 to 15 hours.
Yeah, good
And
point.
you can too. And so we would suggest too, the reason we're talking a lot about these types of labeling is what we've done here. And let me walk you through them. But as you're sorting through and making decisions, we don't necessarily put things into a box to relocate. It's mostly just the mental work and the labeling of making those decisions about key items. So on the left here, you see a green sticky and it says all. That is like a pantry cabinet that's been gone through, and every single item in there the client wishes will go to their new home. So it's as simple as that, just making that decision, labeling it for yourself or for your move manager as all.
And we've done the sort of thought process and planning ahead. So we know that, yes, that all in fact will fit in the new space, or maybe it's not all going to fit in the new pantry because this is a walk-in and now they have a cupboard, but we have a plan for the things. So maybe all of the big appliances that are in there are going to end up in a different place in the new house. So be thinking space for space about, if I'm taking this with me, where is it going to go in my new home? That this works in closets too. You want to think of how much linear hanging space you currently have and then what you'll have in your new home. Kitchen cabinets. How many cabinets do I have now? How many will I have in my new home? And don't forget to look and decide how many shelves within the cabinets, because you might have 4 really full shelves now and you're moving to a cabinet with 2 shelves. That's going to make a big difference. So just be thinking generally about how much space you'll have in the new place.
Well, and the picture in the center here is a great illustration of what Ellen was just talking about. You can see they're smaller because they're the little dots we just showed you, but the team here has rearranged the dinnerware where they have marked 2 shelves as green for go. Green comes with us to the next space. And then that top shelf, they've placed items that aren't necessarily going to go to the next home. They're going to be left behind momentarily until decisions can be made about them. So just based on this one cabinet alone, they've said, you know what, we have about 2/3 of the space available in our future kitchen as this current kitchen. So let's make sure that when we're making selections about what we want and what we need, that it will fit into 2/3 of the space.
And you can start making these decisions and then actually live that way for a little while.
Right.
Either you're sorting things by shelf, or maybe you say this one entire cupboard is green and this entire cupboard is red,
Mm-hmm.
and then just live out of the green cupboards for a month. And if you realize that, oh, I need that measuring cup from the red cupboard, okay, move it over. Or after a month, you've not touched that shelf in the green cabinet, you can rethink. But give yourself a little test time in your new home or in your current home before you move it all over.
That's a great point. The third example is yet a different take on this. So you can imagine if you open up a drawer of cutlery, you are not going to put a green or a red sticker on every single fork and every single knife. So what we've done here is between these 2 drawers, the top drawer indicates red. All of the utensil items and other sorts of kitchen tools that are not going have been put into the red drawer, and everything that's been selected to go has been put into this lower drawer, which is labeled with a green sticker. So there's some shifting that happens as we go, but we wanted to give you an indication about how very simply you can label things as you're making the decision. And again, this isn't the tough physical work. This is a little bit more mental decision-making work. You really don't have to do much to make those decisions other than have a really strong framework in your mind about what you need, what you want, and what will fit.
Okay, now let's talk about the move logistics. Okay, so there's a couple things. If you're hiring a move manager, you aren't going to think about the move logistics because that's their job. But if you're handling this on your own, there are some things that are going to be important for you to think about. And the first is going to be choose a qualified mover. Not all movers are created equal. And usually what we find is you get what you pay for.
Yes.
So your neighbor may say, oh my gosh, I had the cheapest move. I hired 2 college guys in a truck and they did a great job. However, that may not be a good choice for you. If you're moving out of a house into a high rise with a freight elevator, or you've got a lot of old furniture that really needs to be taken care of, well, it's not about speed. And frankly, your first point of choice shouldn't be price either. It should be who is going to take really good care of my things and work with me. You also want to get a quote or multiple. This is a good time the mover should come into your home, look at your things. You may have some green dots on things, so you can orient them to what it is you plan to bring. And you may not have it all decided when you have a mover come in. That's okay. They should be able to help you, even if you just have a general idea. And then you want to understand what their service offerings are. Do they pack? Do they unpack? Can they hang that big mirror that has to be moved? Or do you have to hire someone else to do that? So that's where you want to start. When you're choosing a qualified mover, ask for a referral. If you're moving into a senior community, ask the senior community, what movers do you love working with? They're going to have their favorites, and they're definitely going to tell you who to avoid. So start there. Maybe you have a friend who moved recently. That's okay too. Use that. You can ask Facebook groups, but definitely read reviews. You want to understand and make sure that people really not just liked the mover, but they actually provided good service.
Y'all, this is a place that we feel really passionately about, because it is unfortunate that many people will end up with a poorly qualified or unethical mover. We don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
It's really, really important that you do your diligence and get a referral for somebody who's wonderful. We don't want you to end up on, you've all seen like the episodes of 60 Minutes or something where there's these mover horror stories. Now, that's not to say, there's many wonderful movers out there. We need to find them with you and make sure that you're in the hands of somebody that is trustworthy and ethical and has, a really great reputation among your community.
Well, and things do go wrong during moves. That's just the fact of the matter. And you want to make sure that you have a mover who's going to solve the problem and do the right thing. Maybe a piece of furniture breaks. It happens with old things. You want someone who's going to take care of that, not who's just going to send you off to some insurance company and pay you 60 cents on the per dollar per pound for it. You don't want to deal with that. You want someone who's actually going to fix it and take care of it, because that's going to be what helps you settle into this new space. So definitely get an in-person quote. The mover should come to your house, or sometimes they'll do a video sort of FaceTime-like quote, but you want them to actually see what it is you're moving. They should see every piece. If you have a glass coffee table, they should know that. They may choose to pack that in a crate or do something unique to make sure that piece is transported properly. Don't just talk to someone who says, oh, it's a 2-bedroom, that costs X. No, they should see your things. Also on your quote, look for or ask for a not to exceed amount. They should give you a price, and they should come in within 10% above or below that. Otherwise, you're going to have a mover who might give you a low price and then come in at twice that amount. Well, that's what actually happened. Or you didn't tell us about this, closet. There's a lot of different ways that they might do that, but you want to make sure that you're protected. Really awesome if you can get a flat rate up front from a mover. If that's an option, it's usually a very good choice. And then if you're doing this move yourself, ask them to also quote you packing and unpacking. If you're using a move manager, they're going to handle that for you. But if you're doing it yourself, let the mover pack. They are very efficient. They're probably insuring the items that they're packing and not the items you're packing, and they're going to do a much better job. Also consider asking them to unpack. And that means they're not going to put it away in a cabinet the way a move manager would. They're not folding your towels, but they're going to pull stuff out of boxes and put it on the first available surface. So that might mean that they stack things on kitchen counters or a dining table, and then you or your family members can put those things in cabinets. That's a much faster way to get you settled. If they just drop you off with a bunch of brown boxes, you're not going to be happy. Please trust us on that one. Think of unique offerings that movers might have. We talked about packing and furniture wrapping. They should be able to provide you with packing and wrapping materials if you choose to pack on your own. At least use their packing materials. We advise against using used boxes it is a good way to save money. However, you don't know if the previous user of said box had olive oil in that box where you're then putting your cashmere sweaters. So fresh boxes, at least for clothing and anything personal, would be important to ask for. Consider adding valuation insurance. So this is insurance just above and beyond what your standard, what they're required by the state to provide. And what they're required by the state to provide is basically nothing. I mean, it's nothing. So consider that. You may pay a couple $100s more, but it could be zero deductible, completely replace something if it's broken. It is definitely worth getting. We are in Houston and the traffic is crazy. And I've seen moving trucks on fire on the side of the road. They're not ours, but they're someone's. So consider valuation insurance, because all of your most prized possessions are going in that one box truck at one time. Talk about, they should be able to load, transport, and unload. And there might be complicated unloading situation if you're moving into a new community. We have a community in Houston where you literally go down the freight elevator into the sub basement, 100 yards down, up another freight elevator to the loading dock, where we have to pay some guy cash to stand there and monitor the door. You want to know that in advance if that's part of it. You want to make sure that the mover can handle that. Can they do specialized removal of things, hanging heavy mirrors, disconnecting your fridge, things like that, and make sure they can haul away materials at the end. Because if they leave you with a bunch of empty boxes, that's no good. You're not going to be able to get rid of those easily. Okay, on to step 6.
We have reached step 6 of the 6 proven easy, simple tips. Make it feel like home. Ellen referenced this earlier. It is really just such a wonderful period on the end of a sentence like this to be able to unpack quickly and get settled. If you've chosen to work with a move manager, you should be unpacked, organized, art on the wall the same day that the moving truck arrives. But if you don't have a team of many, many people working on your behalf, we still advise you to make it feel like home and quickly. So that's unpacking. It's doing things like refreshing key items such as towels and lease bins and shower curtains, things that just, probably shouldn't live in more than one home at a time. And then we talked about choosing a familiar paint color. Ideally, if you do that, you get it put on the walls before you move in. And then hanging art photography, it's the cherry on top. It really is.
Let's give you an example.
Yeah, absolutely. It really just completes the look. So you'll see a couple of finished spaces in this next picture. Obviously, the personal art collected over a lifetime of experiences and travel makes it feel like home. And on the right, you see that's a little vignette from a bathroom where our client was just delighted to have some whimsical crab wallpaper added to her space. So she moved into an already beautiful apartment, and this just personalized it a bit more. So anything you can do to personalize it to your tastes, with special touches, with fresh accessories, with art that's familiar that you love, the sooner the better, just in terms of helping you feel really settled.
Agreed.
Okay, this is the conclusion page, and we are going to, we have one more segment left after this, but for those of you who maybe were listening so closely that you didn't take notes, here's your notes page. Downsizing in 6 simple steps. So we've gone through these with you. We want to invite you, I'm going to click in just a moment, I'm going to leave you a little bit more time on this page. We want to invite you to continue the conversation with us. We're going to show you our Facebook and our Instagram pages where we can have a two-way conversation. If you want to put questions in the chat, we will get to those after the webinar. We aren't able to do it during the webinar today. We would love it if you would email us. Our primary address that we love to use is houston@newthresholds.com. So please don't hesitate. If we can be of support to you, maybe we can fill in some questions that you come out of this webinar having. Certainly, we would love to hear from you about which of these topics and additional ones would you like more education on. We're very happy to provide that. It is our mission to help people make these types of downsizing transitions more pleasant and smooth in their lives so that you all can go and lead the lives that you are meant to lead and not worry so much about what do I have to get rid of.
We also have a YouTube channel, and we go into depth on how to sort through different areas of your home there.
Mhm.
So definitely check that out.
Awesome. Here are our Facebook and our Instagram addresses. We would love for you to keep up the conversation with us there. So we had hundreds of people register for this webinar. So we know that the interest and the need is great. And many of you took the opportunity to submit to us key areas of question or curiosity. And we probably had well over probably 150 of you with comments and questions you wanted to hear about. We have chosen them based on frequency, and there are a number of them that showed up a lot. So we've got 3 to start with here. The first is, what do I do with all my stuff? Ellen.
I love this topic.
Right.
And so just so I define stuff, this is like you've chosen with green dots or Post-its all of the stuff you're taking with you. You've moved, you're settled, it's all set up, you're happy. And then you have a house that still remains and there's stuff in it, stuff you don't want, but this is what that is. So that's what we're talking about here. So first, the most lucrative way you can get rid of all your stuff is in an in-home estate sale. Now, this is not an option for everybody, but if it is an option for you, it's a good one. You want to definitely interview estate sale companies if this is the case. Read reviews, ask a neighbor or friend for a recommendation, because this person is going to be in your home, representing your property, protecting your space, and you want to make sure you feel good about them. But that's the best way to do that, because you are going to you're going to sell people things through this sale, and they are going to be responsible for transporting them away. So you're not paying an additional mover fee, and you're just cashing a check at the end of the sale. So that's our number one choice for people who are money motivated.
I want to add though, and I've said this many times, people do not get rich from estate sales.
Yeah. Good point.
It's a responsible way to sell unwanted items. It is not a money windfall. So yes, there will be income of some sort coming in, maybe to offset costs of doing other things. And it's also a way to, as Ellen said, not have to pay to transport unwanted items, because that's kind of a kick in the teeth sometimes when you have to pay money to move things that you didn't want in the first place. But estate sales, just temper your expectations. They are not a huge financial windfall, but it's a wonderful way to take unwanted items of yours and put them in the hands of people that do want them.
That's true.
And can pay some money for them. So it's a nice transaction, but it's not necessarily a get rich quick idea.
Very true. I'll give an example. One of our very first clients had paid $25,000 for this beautiful upright antique secretary bookcase. It was stunning. He bought it from a designer. He clearly paid a lot of money, but the antique market a few years ago was not what it was when he bought it. And it ended up being worth and selling for $1,200. So don't expect to sell things for what you paid for them, or anywhere close to that. There's a bit of supply and demand. We'll probably get into that with the next question at play here, but just keep that in mind. The next option is a digital auction. There's a lot of ways to do this. Online auction is probably a better way to say it. You can hire companies to come in and set this up for you, and it means that they're selling those items probably out of your home. Sometimes you can transport those to a warehouse, and they then sell those for you. I do want to point out the difference between an estate sale and an auction. So an estate sale, they're just like a store, they're putting a price tag on the items in your home, and people are paying that amount of money, or maybe it's reduced if it's, toward the end of the sale, but those items have a price tag. An auction starts at $1 sometimes, maybe there's a reserve on the item, and it goes up from there based on interest. So you're starting here or you're starting here, and you're hoping that the demand is going to push that up in an auction. That's not always the case. So if you're going to do an auction, do a lot of research to understand how that auction company handles that. Another option is consignment. You could do this at an antique store. Sometimes estate sale companies will take consignment out of your home and sell it at one of their other estate sale locations. We do this often for clients who can't host their own sale due to HOA or deed restrictions. Maybe they're in a high rise or a gated community and it just doesn't make sense. So we take those items off site and sell them elsewhere. Another way to do this is to meaningfully donate. And when we say meaningfully, we don't just mean drop it at Goodwill down the street, although that can be a really good option for people. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if you donate in a way that feels good to you, you're going to be inclined to give more. Often you can find places that will pick up for free. Salvation Army is a great option. Now, keep in mind, if you're planning on them coming and taking all the contents left in your house, there's a good chance that they show up and they say, oh, we don't have room on the truck for that today, or we'll come back next week for that. That might be okay, but if you're closing on your house the next day, don't plan on that as sort of your final plan. And then some of the items are going to go in the trash. Just keep that in mind. You might have items from your garage or things that are just broken or tattered. You may have spent $10,000 on an upholstered sofa that's not going to sell very well, or maybe it's not in very good condition. Just expect that might end up going to donation or to the trash. So be open about the end result for things.
Okay, so that was the biggest question, is what do I do with all of my stuff? And that was also, the 5-minute answer. Again, we could talk for hours on this, and we may. So please give us that feedback about how else we can be of help to you when you're facing this question. Specifically, a kind of a subset of that is, how do I handle downsizing paperwork?
Oh gosh,
files
and such. One.
Yeah.
Okay, so we tend to accumulate paperwork, and if you live in a home where you have room to store that paperwork, people often let that build up. You might have multiple file cabinets worth of paperwork. And I'll tell you, when you're floor planning for that new home, nothing feels worse than taking up space that could, house a beautiful bookshelf or table for one of those big, ugly metal file cabinets. So our goal is to not bring those whenever possible. Here's how we suggest you do it. Get 1 or maybe 2 banker boxes and start putting your key items into those. Go and look for them. You're going to look for your deed to your home. You're going to look for birth certificates, passports, marriage or death certificates, things that are important to you. Seek those out, put those into those banker boxes. You can use folders in there to keep things organized. And maybe you're going to keep some financial statements. If they're available to you online, which most of them are, you don't need multiple months of statements. Maybe just 1 or 2 months, whatever feels good to you, or better yet, none. You can pull it up online if you need to. Consider tax returns. Usually the range to keep is between 3 and 7 years based on your situation with the IRS. We'll let you decide what feels right, but you don't need tax returns back to 1983. A lot of our clients have those, and it's just unnecessary. So understand what it is you need to keep. Put those in those boxes you're going to take, and then consider getting a shred truck for the rest. You can take a box of shred to like the UPS store or somewhere, but if you have we always tell our clients, if you have more than about 3 or 4 boxes, it is worth calling a shred company to show up on site. They have a big truck, they park it in the front of your house, they put the stuff in it, shred it right then and there, you pay with a credit card, and it's done. You see that it's safely taken care of, and there's no need to worry. But there's quite likely there's going to be a lot of paperwork that goes in that.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to add to that is that there's just a lot of us who are in the habit of keeping paperwork, and it's just not necessary anymore. 40 years ago, when things weren't digitized and when we couldn't just pull up our 18 months plus of bank transactions on our website in a second, it was a little bit more necessary. we can get out of the habit of keeping that paperwork and just keep what's important. It's the same philosophy as sorting through your home. What do you need? What do you want?
This
And
actually,
it's a short list.
it's a short list. This applies to family photographs too. You can have someone digitize these for you, and then they can make the rest disappear. If you have these beautiful old black and white photos, maybe those are worth keeping, but anything that you printed in 1991 at Walgreens that got duplicates of, family vacation, you can hand these photo albums to somebody who does this professionally and say, only scan the ones that have people in them, and they'll give it to you on a little thumb drive or upload it to the cloud for you. And that's what your adult children want. They want a little thumb drive of photos they can then plug into a digital picture frame. They don't want you dropping off dusty photo albums at their house full of pictures that they're going to look at once. So give that as the gift next holiday season.
And here's the last question. Again, many of you asked along the lines of, how do I emotionally let go of things? So it's a little different than what do I do with my stuff. It's more about how do I process mentally and emotionally the decision to let go of things. The fact that you asked the question indicates that you're partly there.
Yeah.
So give yourself a little credit
first
for
step.
even wanting some tips on how to do this well. You are on your way already. So Ellen, talk to us more about that.
Okay, so my favorite is to consider new uses for your current things. So for example, you might have a dining room buffet. Well, you're not bringing your dining room table, so why would I bring my dining room buffet? But it may make a lovely TV console. It's got great storage, it's got drawers, and it's beautiful. Okay, great. Bring that, consider it as a TV console. Maybe a entryway chest, a bachelor's chest will make a really good nightstand. There's different ways to repurpose things in your home. If you're keeping something with drawers, we always like to make sure the drawers actually open and close easily. If it's an old antique and you can't get it open very well, it's not a good place to store your socks. So keep
I'll
that
expand on this. I lost a favorite grandmother when I was 22 years old. And one of the things that I got from her home, which I loved so much, was this like really cool Art Deco style dining room buffet. Well, a 22-year-old did not have a dining room, and I didn't really have anything to put in the buffet. You know what it turned into? A fabulous dresser for my bedroom. And so I was able to keep something and use something that had meaning to me, just given that my lifestyle was not at all the same as my departed grandmother.
Okay, awesome. Great idea. And thanks for the example. So when you're struggling to let go of something, our number one way we encourage our clients is find a cause that's bigger than you. Find a place where you can donate your things to, or maybe you can donate money from the things you sold to this cause. You're going to soon realize that, oh, if I can donate to this veterans organization or my grandchild's school, you suddenly realize, oh, I actually don't need these things. I know those teachers could benefit from these office supplies, and I have more than I could possibly use. So find a cause that's bigger than you.
So it's shifting that emotion, right? So it's taking an emotion that's like attachment or maybe guilt,
yeah,
and shifting it into generosity.
Yeah.
So turn that into something really positive. Be generous with the things that you know in your mind you're ready to let go, and you just kind of need your heart to get a little bit of a nudge. Being generous, and filling needs that other people have, they're bigger than you, goes a long way. It really means so much to them, and it will make you feel a little lighter too.
Yeah. Another way is to find someone who will love that item. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's your adult child, right, unless they explicitly asked for that item. Don't just say, oh, Susie would love that, and pile it on her. You're just then passing the burden, and you're probably creating a little resentment at the same time. A really good way to find someone who will love it is through a charity or through an estate sale. People shop estate sales looking for things. So if you're selling china that you loved, but you can't keep anymore, that's a good way to find a new home for it.
Let's talk a little bit about collections. So some of us have collected things for many, many years, and all of a sudden you have this huge collection because everybody jumped on board and that's what you got for every holiday for 20 years straight, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a Mongo collection of something, whether it's figurines or china.
Okay, so pick a few of your favorite pieces from that collection and then let the rest go. Maybe you have 5 sets of china that you really aren't sure what to do with. Maybe you keep the salad plates from all 5 sets and let the rest go. Maybe you keep a teacup from one and a serving platter from another. Pick and choose. Plates go really beautifully on walls. You can find a different way to enjoy those, but don't feel that you have to keep the entire collection. And please, please, please disassociate what you paid for the item and the decision to keep it or not. So we have clients all the time who say, oh, but I spent $10,000 on that rug. And oh, I mean, my dog has soiled it and it doesn't fit in the new place, but I really should keep it. No, you shouldn't. It doesn't matter what you paid for it. It matters if it's going to serve you in your next chapter.
Okay. So we hope this was helpful talking about this heavy emotions that can be associated with things. But again, give yourselves credit for even asking the question because it means that you're well on your way. So we have reached the end of our time. We are so grateful that you all came and listened to us and asked these wonderful questions. We sincerely hope that you have taken from this some actionable steps. Please, please keep in touch, get in touch with us and tell us how we can further serve you. We've put our Facebook and Instagram addresses at the bottom. And as I mentioned, Houston at newthresholds.com will come directly to us. And we would love to continue the conversation and to be of help to you. So thank you so much.
All right, we'll catch you next time.